Okay, we're just heading off to a Queer City tour. It was built for the funeral of the emperor, and they brought his coffin in through the middle door, and it was locked after that, and it's never been opened since. Brilliant, isn't it? Here we go. These are... Feel it, like he was telling us that the Vietnamese flag is a solid red background with the yellow star. Well, it turns out, and the red is the colour of blood, because Vietnamese people have shed a lot of blood to gain their independence. Yellow says the yellow is the colour of my skin, meaning, you know, being Asian and being Vietnamese. When the French came here in 1858, the French came, and while he was the emperor, so his first sorrow was that he had no children, which, you know, obviously is a big blow to a royal family. But also the French came and began their colonization of Vietnam in that time, so he lost like 6 provinces, and then he died 2 years later and they took over the whole country. So the French, and I only learned just today that the French colonized Vietnam from 1858 to 1954, so it was a long reign. Obviously a big massive influence of their culture and religion, the missionaries, all that, same as in New Zealand really in a way, very much the same. However, of course, Vietnam regained their independence and have retained their culture, which is awesome to see. It's not like one of those world famous heritage sites. Well, I suppose it is amongst history buffs, especially Southeast Asian history buffs. It's obviously been around for a long time, but I didn't know about it. But it's got that real cool old feel of what I imagine it's like in the Forbidden City in Beijing or somewhere like that, just that real ancient culture. And yeah, it's a lot. Some of it's in ruin, but a lot of it's in real good nick. Some of it's been reconstructed, just to, you know, because you had the French War, which damaged things, destroyed certain things. Then you had the American War, which we call, of course, the Vietnam War. They call it the American War. Damaged things, and then weather, extreme weather, even in the last apparently 20 years, has laid waste to certain things, flooding and whatever. So they've preserved it as best they can, and yeah, there's just heaps of monuments and things that were actually, you know, in use. It's not just memorial museum sort of stuff. Yeah, pretty cool. The Imperial City, an important part of Vietnamese history, and I learned today it's trivial I suppose, but the word Mandarin is actually officials. Like the Mandarins, as the tour guide was referring to them, were like the many courtmen of the emperor. So you had different types of Mandarins, civilian ones, military, treasury. You know, they were like the power or the administration. Yeah, that's probably the right word. And the word Mandarin does come from Chinese, but it was also used throughout, I guess, Chinese influenced Asia. Another thing I learned the other day, or I'd actually read it years ago, but I heard it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. A Vietnamese person said Vietnam literally means people of the south. Viet is people and Nam is south, and that harks back to the Chinese rule days when China culturally and traditionally sees itself as the center of the universe, and because Vietnam was conquered by China, they were the people down south. And so China actually named it Vietnam, people down south. And of course Vietnam's been independent of China for, you know, ages, and then went through its French battles and then the American War, the Vietnam War, but retains the name. Just getting a bike ride back to the hotel after the tour guide today, and it's okay. And yeah, just getting through traffic. It's a bit easier to jump on a bike really than to worry about taxis and all that jazz. It's pretty cruisy. Bit of smog never hurt ya.